Hi lovelies, welcome back to UG Update. So guys, let's talk about the Anupama series guys, and we'll be talking about quite an interesting episode that'll be coming up in the Anupama series. Let's find out what happened between Anuj and Anupama regarding Saga and Meenu's love. Let's find out what went down. But before I continue to the video guys, please don't forget that this is still UG Update. In case if you are yet to subscribe to UG Update, please click on the subscription button and subscribe. Don't also forget guys to give the video a thumbs up. Alright lovelies, let's dive straight into the video. So guys, let's just start with Anupama telling Anuj that she might have done some sins in the past birth that she has to compensate for it now. She says, until when I have to be in the witness box and meet whatever I do. Everyone has a problem with me and I try to do good with everyone, but everyone thinks me as a villain. She says, Meenu is my niece, but just as she is born, Dolly, the hand, gave her to me, and I raised her as my daughter. She says she calls Saga as Samas many times and loves him a lot. She then says when he goes to buy the shirt, he calls me to ask for my opinion, and he chose a girl without informing me, and that too, Meenu, who is there to me. She says, Balakaka, and you haven't told me anything. She says I was foolish not to believe Dolly behind, and then she says when they came here I kept everyone in control. But now they got a chance to say anything. Their mouths are opened and Dolly behind said that I provoked Saga and asked if I will make both families fight, knowing what equation both families have between each other. She said she didn't feel good after whatever Saga did. Then Anuj asks, what you didn't like is that they fell in love with each other without your consent, or that they didn't tell you about them. Dolly says it is enough now. I have decided to get Meenu's marriage done at the earliest. She says I will not hear anyone, not even her father. Balakaka takes Saga from there, and then Ba says if you see that guy, then I will slap you. Anu then asks Anupama if you think that Saga is not suitable for Meenu, then what you didn't like, and says you know well that love is not in our control and it just happens, and when it happens then we will see only the person we love and nobody else. He then says even we had loved this way, but Saga and Meenu are new generation lovers, and tells that we used to hear song and forget about studies and home, but Saga and Meenu didn't leave their studies, dreams and career. He says the new generation is ahead of us and prioritizes their career, education and dreams as well. He says Dolly behind is seeing social status and asks if we didn't have that different, then also we had loved. He asks if Meenu and Saga shouldn't have the right to decide to spend their lives with each other. It will be injustice if they don't have the right. He then says Meenu and Saga were shy to tell the elders about their love. And then he says, I will ask Saga why he didn't tell you. He says, if you want to punish them, then shall punish as they didn't tell her, but shall not punish them as they fell in love with each other. He says, if Anuj and Anu don't support them, then who will support them? Anu then gives hands on his hands. In another sense, Saga asks Bala if Anuj will convince Anu if she will not break the relationship with me. While Toshu and Paki comes out and seeks Saga with Bala. And then Toshu says he has made Meenu's profile on matrimonial sites and has selected some guys to show to Dolly few. Balakaka tells Saga that they are trying to provoke your anger, while Paki says this doctor is so handsome and taunts Saga. Saga gets angry and snatches the phone from their hands. Paki then says if you break our phone, then we will break yours. Saga looks at the guy's photos and tells that no guy can love or respect Meenu as I do. Toshu asks him to make 2+ of his love, but Acha and have it, and says you can't marry Meenu. Your Anu will not let you marry Meenu. Saga says my Anu's decision is like the line on the stone. I will do what she says. Back to Anupama and Anupama leaves Anuj's hands, and then Anuj asks what happened. Then Anupama tells that it is easy to rebel or support them, but it is difficult to convince the family members. She says Dolly behind is not wrong at her place and says parents have many desires for their children's life, and if she wants her to marry a big doctor, then she is not wrong. She says, I want to support love and has always supported love. Be it Kinjal Toshu, Sama Dimpi, Adik Paki. She then says Meenu and Saga can never be happy if they marry against the family's wish. She then says we might have full right on Saga, but Dolly has full right on Meenu, as she is her mother. Anu then says you have a point, but if the family will be happy, if Dolly behind forces Meenu to marry without her wish, then it is wrong. He says just as he said that Dolly has the right on Meenu, but if Meenu don't have right on herself. And Pama then says family is important as well, and says when Adia was against us, then if we had moved on. She tells that neither Meenu or Saga will be happy if they go against the family's wish. Anu then says we can just try to make them understand, but it is up to them to decide. In another sense, Dolly and Bas scold Meenu, and then Dolly says your tears don't matter to me, and asks how can you fall in love with such a guy who is nothing, has no good face, no education and family. Bas says we don't know about his blood and family, how can we get you married to him? She says everyone had loved marriage here except Babuji and me, and nobody is happy. Dolly says your mommy had done love marriage after becoming daddy, and her marriage couldn't even stand for 1 year. Bas says if you marry that auto guy, then we will have no respect in the society. Meenu then asks which respect are you saying, and says Mamu had eloped with Cross and is thrown out of the house. She says we don't have any respect now in the society and we are living here due to Mami. She said you said that love marriage don't work and asked if Mamu and Mami's arranged marriage worked. She said look at Mommy and Papa, ask them if they are happy. She says if there is happiness in my life, then I will be happy with Saga. And if there is no happiness in my life, then I will not be happy with Prince Charming. Dolly then says, we never thought that you will do this. Then Meenu says, if you don't understand my love, then I will vanish like Adia. Back to Anupama Sen, and Anupama asks Anuj to talk something else, and then Anuj says, I want to marry you, and says, I want to marry you now itself. And if Adia comes to know, then she will be upset as she wants our marriage to happen grandly. And says, I can't wait anymore. He says, I said everything and says, I told my hard feelings and says, I shouldn't have forced you. He says, it's okay if I say. He says, marry me and become Mrs. Kabadia or make me Mr. Joshi. In another sense, Baki says it was fun that they are flying high and it is good that they are exposed. Toshu says we had a loss. Baki then asks loss. Toshu says we didn't get the jewelry. Kinjal hears and says you have stooped so low and I will go and tell everything to mommy. Baki says it was Toshu's plan and I told him not to do this. But Toshu asks Baki to stop and says Kinjal is bluffing to no. Kinjal says she didn't hear but was doubtful. She then tells Toshu that he has a history to steal and tells that right mommy is sad, but soon she will find out. She asks them to get better. While back to Anupama and Anuj Sen, Anupama asks why to marry. She says, I am not complaining, and says our marriage period was the most happiest time of our lives. She says, why to marry now at this phase of life? We are staying with Adia happily. What is the need to marry? Why to become Rukmini and Krishna? If we can't stay at Radha and Krishna. He then says we can stay as friends, but their relationship will not be for birth. She then says if someone stays together, then you will ask them to marry. He says he don't want anyone to point fingers at our relationship and says I want a full package of what we have missed. And Pama says she is scared to marry him again as both of them have done mistakes. He then says we shall marry as we love each other and says he don't want to separate with her again and walks to cover the journey holding her hand. Guys, wow, that's quite a lot. Starting from Toshu and Paki exposing Meenu and Saga's relationship to the family, down to Anupama and Anuj love confession. Guys, it's quite a lot that went down on this episode. Seriously, drama on this episode. So I will allow you guys drop what you think about this episode on the comment section. And as you do that, please don't forget that this is still UG Update. In case if you are here to subscribe to UG Update, please click on the subscription button and subscribe. Don't also forget, guys, to give the video a thumbs up. Alright, lovelies, that will be a wrap. Thank you guys for watching up to this point. I really love you guys, and I'll see you guys on my next video.